Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Dave Allen, Arslanbek Makhmudov, a battle of the gatekeepers to see who reigns supreme. Dave Allen on the upswing, Makhmudov, who's been a bit on the downside of late. They will face off October the 11th at the Sheffield Arena, somewhere Dave Allen has wanted to headline for a long time. So what we'll do is we'll go through some of the different comments, and there's also a press release from Eye of the Tiger. We'll get some comments there. But first, Dave Allen, who would have thought 2025 Dave Allen would be headlining in a somewhat relevant and interesting fight in the United Kingdom at a decent venue. Wasn't on my bingo card for 2025 if you just asked me this question 2 or 3 years ago. Remembering Allen with a little bit of a checkered career in recent years, he had some half-hearted retirements. There was some well publicized. He talked about health issues and headaches and stuff like that. A stuttering comeback where he just really couldn't get things going until Johnny Fisher dropped in his lap. He beats the prospect twice on the bounce, and now he is on the upswing. And something to fight for too, remembering these guys, sort of gatekeeper, towards that 20 to top 30 level. Whoever wins here continues to stay on and will continue to get good work. I'm sure the other will continue to fight, but the paychecks, if you win, are significantly bigger. So this is all part of Matchroom's updated fight schedule, which they have announced, and Allen Makhmudov headlining. Also, Dave Allen saying, October 11, I finally headlined Sheffield Arena. I first boxed there in 2013, and this is really a dream come true. I wanted to go there and be the main event against the biggest possible challenge, and Eddie found me that. I go in as the underdog, but I like that, and hopefully this time I can win and make it at the world stage at last. All tickets can be purchased via following and messaging, yada yada yada. I don't know if this sort of a win here puts you to the world level, because Makhmudov has never been world level. He's been fringe world level, and then he got beaten and dispatched by Kabayel and subsequently lost to Guido Vianello. But he is coming off a win to Ricardo Brown. But we'll talk about some of the form. Allen also talking to Boxing News says, it might be a shot to nothing and I might go in as the underdog, but I'm up for it. It's one last shot at the big time for me. And just recently, just ahead of the fight being confirmed, he said, and this was on his own Instagram page, fight news coming soon. This is the last post before the fight news. It's that soon. When I chose this opponent, it was such a great idea. Again, boxing the man that nobody really wants to box. What a hard man I am, I thought. Now it's about to be announced. I do feel a bit like I don't want to be a hard man anymore, but it's a bit too late. So we will train hard and barely sleep for 10 weeks. Fight news coming soon, obviously now announced. And actually, he's got plenty of time to train, so he shouldn't be underdone on the training front. And actually, a couple of weeks ago, he had actually said, Eddie Hearn, was it 10 days ago? It was just over a week ago, July 26th, here it is here. Had said that he had been given 5 names, and obviously he chose Makhmudov. And we'll talk about that, because I think Allen will think some of the things with Makhmudov match the way that he can fight, and that the styles will mesh in a way that will suit a potential path to victory for Allen. In terms of Makhmudov, so his promoter, Eye of the Tiger, remember also Makhmudov co-promoted by Top Rank, but this is not in the United States. It's probably just Eye of the Tiger being involved here. But his promoter says Arslanbek Makhmudov proved he's back at the top of his game in his last fight, knocking out an undefeated Olympian in under a round. While Dave Allen has shown he's one of the toughest heavyweights in the world today, we're confident he won't be able to withstand the power that the Lion will unleash in the UK on October 11. Makhmudov says, I'm grateful for the opportunity to face a true warrior like Dave Allen on October 11. I know he won't shy away from going to war with me, but enough talk. It's time to hunt, and soon it'll be time to have my hand raised, says Arslanbek Makhmudov. Eddie Hearn says there's some huge fights to look forward to, and none more so than Dave Allen against Arslanbek Makhmudov. To be honest, I think Dave is absolutely mad for taking this fight. In fact, he might just be one of the strangest men I've ever met. I gave him a list of very good fighters. He chose the biggest puncher and the most dangerous one on the whole list. Well, that makes me wonder who the other names were, because Makhmudov, even though they're talking it up, and I guess they should, given that it's a main event and they want to sell some tickets and all that sort of stuff. But the mystique and the whole boogeyman narrative around Makhmudov has certainly fallen away. And I think anyone in the know who's been following Makhmudov for years knew that when the wheels fell off, it was well and truly going to be sort of against the decent opponent. And so it proved against Agit Kabayel, who dispatched Makhmudov a couple of years ago on a Riyadh season show, and that really was a breakout performance for Agit Kabayel. And I think part of that fight would have also prompted Dave Allen to want to face Makhmudov, because Makhmudov's body was worked over and ended up looking like candle wax at the hands of Agit Kabayel in 2023. And Dave Allen, as we know, he does like to work to the body. Who could forget that stoppage against Lucas Brown? But I guess we have to say it did look like it was a sort of, he pre-prepared, like he knew he was going to just throw that shot rather than looking to set it up. He just threw it, and obviously perfect timing, landed Brown down and out. Dave Allen, biggest win of his career, and I think this would certainly be, especially this far on and where Dave Allen has been, it would be an impressive win, and it is a step up from the Johnny Fisher fight. Make no mistake, I mean, I know some people have been, and there was the mention as well of, and I have to sort of pause here to talk about this, the mention of a fight with Joseph Parker, and I was just like, that is so offensive. You beat Johnny Fisher and somehow get a top 5 guy? I mean, it doesn't work that way. Johnny Fisher was at a certain level of prospect who was on the way up. Allen had really been nowhere before that fight with Fisher in a very long time, and obviously getting those wins, great for his career, but that doesn't mean you step into against top 10 opponents, or more like top 3 opponents at this point. So I was just like, what are people on? They must be smoking crack and too much of it, because that's uppercuts all round if people ever thought that was viable. But anyway, Allen versus Makhmudov, it's interesting from a stylistic perspective, because Makhmudov will come forward, he'll look to, basically let the right hand and the right uppercut go. He's a flat track bully. He will come forward, he's a come forward fighter, but if you can withstand some of the storm and get your own work away, especially to the body, you could be in here. And I think Allen also, to some extent, fancies himself as a bit of a boxer, and sometimes he has shown, some things with footwork and that sort of stuff, but I think the differences between him and Kabayel and him and Guido Vianello, who both boxed rings around Makhmudov and were able to have their way with him to some extent, is that Dave Allen is quite slow and flat-footed. Sure, he can do some things in there that are nice, but he is not the same level, the same caliber of boxer, or the same technical proficiency. So while he might be looking to land body shots and do things like that, I mean, for Makhmudov, he'll be thinking, great, I've got this plotter in front of me that I can just go in there and wing away. And to some extent, Dave Allen will also be doing that. He will be looking for that big overhand looping right that he likes to throw. Think of a couple of times where he's landed that on guys, neck webbing, and demolished him with one of those. That's the sort of punch he'll be looking to land on Makhmudov, but so too Makhmudov. And this is why I like this fight, because it's unpredictable, and both these guys like to let their hands go. And I guess when he says he's an underdog, I mean, is he really? I mean, I would have thought what we've seen from Makhmudov more recently, that, Dave Allen is more than a live dog in this fight. Actually, Arslanbek Makhmudov, the record of late, it hasn't been great. With Agit Kabayel, and he also lost to Guido Vianello, as I mentioned. These other guys, Ricardo Brown and also Miljan Rovkanan, it's not the same sort of opponent, and Ricardo Brown just looked to sort of wing away, throw bombs, and got caught with something. We can't take much from that, despite the undefeated record. he hadn't beaten anyone. We didn't know how good he was. We have more of a stare against Dave Allen. And let's face it, despite the 2 losses, Makhmudov is in that gatekeeper mold. You know, same too, like Kevin Lorena. There's a number of them. Carlos Takam, latter end of his career, held that sort of thing. And actually, Makhmudov, despite where he's fallen short, you know, he did fight Carlos Takam a couple of years ago. Got a win. But that one there, he had some success early, but he did kind of run out of steam and ideas a little bit. He did batter Marius Vuk into submission in 2022. Vuk didn't really have much left at that point. But, you know, if he hits you, you can stay hit. But so too Dave Allen. Dave Allen does have underrated power, and some of the shots that he hit Fisher with, especially in that second fight, you know, a lot of guys, if they'd have taken them clean, they would also be going down. So Dave Allen can box. He does have a bit of skill, and he can actually do some nice things in there. He's certainly, I think, more polished than Makhmudov, and, you know, it's crazy to think that Allen's the more polished one out of the 2, you know, basically, you know, anyway. Yeah, so I like it. I like this fight. I mean, I think this is a pretty evenly matched fight, and for Makhmudov and his aspirations to get back to something meaningful, he has to go in there and look good. But so too Allen to some extent, because he's got aspirations. He wants to have a bigger fight at a better level and secure bigger paychecks against bigger names. Both these guys need each other. It's a crossroads fight. It's not loser leaves town, but the winner is going to go on and have a steak dinner. The loser might be having McDonald's. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.